Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashley.
I'm Mica.
It's no secret that Monster Hunter can be a tough franchise to get into if you're a newcomer. The franchise is notorious for being difficult and for being a little intimidating for first-time players. There's a lot to learn, more than a dozen weapons, not to mention the crafting system, bombs, traps, potions, and cooking too, and it also you die a lot.
So much. It's like the Dark Souls of video games.
Dark Souls is the Monster Hunter.
Oh, there we go. But if you've always wanted to play a Monster Hunter game, now is a good time to jump on board, because the newly released Monster Hunter World has streamlined some of the old systems that made the franchise a bit hard to grasp for newcomers. But if you still need a little bit more tips, we asked some series veterans for their advice, as well as our own in-house expert at Rooster Teeth.
By expert, we mean he plays the game.
Yeah.
He likes it. So without further ado, here are some tips to help you get started in your career as a beast killer.
So, choose your weapon. Probably the biggest decision to make in the game is which weapon to use. There are 14 different weapons to choose from in Monster Hunter World, and they can all be classified as one of 3 types. You got your heavy weapons, your light weapons, and your technical weapons. The technical weapons are harder to master, but provide a lot of bang for your buck. Heavy weapons, as you would imagine, hit harder, and light weapons are fast but don't quite pack as big of a punch. You should definitely pick the one that fits your playstyle, and if you're new, each one has a star rating that shows how easy they are for beginners to use for your convenience.
And then after you get comfortable with it, go ahead and branch out if you like. Since so many newcomers to the Monster Hunter franchise will be trying it out for the first time with Worlds, we asked Monster Hunter vets to share their best advice for new players. Some suggested that newbies start off with either dual blades or the sword and shield combo. Others suggested specifically staying away from the charge blade if you're new.
Monster Hunter player John Fenwick told us, find a weapon you like first and stick to it for now. This game is about learning the monster's patterns/habits. Switching weapons around constantly isn't a good idea. Once you get a good feel for how a monster is, then you can try out different weapons on it.
Another vet, Sam Bartholomew, suggested try to learn the ropes of one weapon class, and when you get the hang of it or get bored, feel free to switch it up. Don't get too caught up trying to learn the ins and outs of all of them.
Tutorials are also your friend, and Monster Hunter can be, a lot to take in. There's a bunch of crafting systems and weapon types that can make it feel a little bit overwhelming, but Monster Hunter World has now fully voiced tutorials that break down most of the game's basics if you're new around here. Palico! You should take advantage of these voice tutorials. Don't just button mash through them and go charging off into the wilds, because that's a recipe for so many deaths.
So many deaths. I mean, you'll die anyway, but this way you'll die less. Your room is a wonderland, so be sure to explore it. It's got a training ground to try out new weapons before you use them on a hunt. That's going to come in handy and will allow you to get some much needed practice before you use your shiny new weapon for real, and can reduce the frustration of repeatedly dying while trying to tackle a big beastie. There's also a lot of ways you can customize your room to get it just the way you like it.
Which is my favorite part. I'm so excited. Also, be sure to do your expeditions. Expedition quests open up fairly early in the game, and they allow you to go wherever you want, pretty much. By doing this, you'll learn more about the world, and you'll also gather materials that you can craft into items and gear that will help you along the way. Oh, and also pick up bounty quests as they become available. You'll be able to complete them passively, which is always nice.
Also, make sure you plan ahead.
Yes.
So when we were talking to our resident Monster Hunter expert, Cole Gallen, he suggested specifically that you have a plan as to what equipment you want next. That way, you take on specific quests whose rewards will get you closer to that goal. Think of it like if you're playing a game like a Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, where something is a long way off and you work backwards to figure out what steps you need to take to get to it. It's like that. Then you can plan your day accordingly.
And also, and kind of like Breath of the Wild, you never, ever, ever, ever want to forget to eat. This is a big tip that a lot of people miss. Before you go into battle, eat something. Food gives you huge stat boosts, plus you get to see an adorable little animation as your little cat chefs get your food ready.
Adorable.
I'm so excited for that. Preparation is a huge part of the game, whether it's crafting the appropriate armor or getting a weapon that deals the elemental damage that your prey is weak to, and what you eat should definitely be a part of that equation. If you've played Final Fantasy 15, you'll be used to that as well.
Look, you are what you eat. We've all grown up knowing this. It turns out that advice was about Monster Hunter.
Fair.
Also, make sure you use scout flies. Scout flies are a new addition to Monster Hunter, and they're going to help you quickly and efficiently get to your target. Get used to following them around. They'll go and check out things like scratch marks or monster tracks. Even saliva will trigger them. You should use your scout flies at every opportunity, because they'll level up and eventually do cool stuff like reveal a monster's weakness as well as their nest location.
And Monster Hunter is always more fun when you have friends. Another new feature in Monster Hunter World is squads, which is basically a guild of 50 of your closest friends who you can team up with to bring down a tough challenge. You can summon 3 allies in the game, which is perfect if you need a little help from your friends. Oh, and if you're extremely social, which Awesome for you! You can join up to 8 squads, but be forewarned, if you take on a monster with friends, their hit points go up accordingly.
But monsters don't scale by how many friends you've got helping you, just that you do have friends helping you. So if you're going to switch from tackling it yourself to bringing in a support team, try to get a full team.
Yeah.
Because that will make it so much easier.
Exactly. And if you're going to start battling monsters, know your enemy. Before you head off on a hunt, just do your research. Cole suggests that you pay attention to your enemy's damage type and adjust your equipment accordingly. There's 5 different types of elemental damage: fire, water, thunder, dragon, and ice. I like that dragon is an element now. Every monster has its own weaknesses. For instance, fire is strong against ice, but weak to water. Ice is strong against thunder and dragon, but weak to fire, and so on and so forth. Usually it's the Pokemon rules of elemental damage. So just do your research.
And get used to camping out wikis.
Yeah.
Also, while you're tracking a monster, be sure to gather as many materials as possible along the way. This game is all about gathering resources and crafting them into usable items and gear. So always have your eyes and your ears open. You'll also want to be on the lookout for special cloaks called mantles that give you one of 4 effects, from turning invisible to gliding in the sky, making monsters more aggressive, so that's the scary one, to giving you a bunch of resistance bonuses.
It's also important to figure out each monster's weak points. Knowing where to hit makes it a huge difference, so focusing your attacks on weaknesses should be a priority rather than just slashing away at some armor.
Keep an eye out for things you can break off with monsters as well. You're looking for tails or horns or neck frills. Notable features like that. These can drop some rare and valuable materials that'll be needed for crafting and upgrading different armors and weapons.
And the most important tip of all is just relax.
It's not a race.
Exactly.
This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Monster Hunter is a super tough game. You're gonna die a lot. Don't feel like this means you're bad at the game. It's just par for the course.
Everyone's doing it.
Exactly, but if you keep going, the game will reward you for your persistence. If you find a monster that you just can't beat, just move on to something else. Build up to it and come back for your revenge later. Twitter user Toxic Snivy suggested, "My best tip is to take your time with hunting and enjoy the experience. You'll get better as time goes on, and if you hit a wall, take a break. Hunt another monster. There's always something to do." And Megadan X told us the grind is real. Know that going in. Monster Hunter has always been a franchise that asks you to invest a good amount of time before it clicks. Also, I've been told RNG is a bitch, so you're gonna need something. It's not gonna show up. Don't panic. Just stay calm.
Eventually.
It'll show
I
up.
hate rare drops.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
They're the worst.
So this isn't necessarily a franchise for everyone. It's gonna require patience. It's gonna require persistence.
It's gonna require friends.
I get it. It's a lot of requirements in order to enjoy something. So it's not necessarily gonna be for everyone. But if you're trying to get into it, that's a bunch of our tips for Monster Hunter World. For you newbies, did we miss anything? Veterans, leave your best tips in the comments for new players.
And for all of your Monster Hunter news, next week we'll talk about our experiences more in depth on Glitch Please and how cute our palicos are. So be sure to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the know.